Hello everybody and welcome back to another video, and the Canadians are back in the win column. That was a great game all the way around. The Canadians won 4-1 against the Edmonton Oilers at home, a regulation win, and that feels refreshing to say. It feels like that has not come around too often recently. A lot of shootout wins recently, or games that we should have won that didn't quite go our way, but in this one we do get the win. It's a regulation win against a really good team. I mean, obviously Edmonton's record is not exactly what they'd like it to be at this point in the season, and I feel like that's kind of something that Edmonton does every year, and then they find a way to get to the Stanley Cup Finals anyway. But regardless of that, it's a good win against a solid team with a really solid offense, which means our defense really had to be steady throughout this game to get this win that we did. And I feel like that's exactly what happened. I feel like we played a really good defensive effort, backstopped by Jakub Dobish. I feel like he was very solid all night. Only let in one goal, and that one goal is one of those goals, like, it'll just go in, like, on anybody, really. It's just like McDavid, Draisaitl, Bouchard, Hyman, all of those guys are prolific players in the NHL, I would argue, and pretty much all of them, combine for that goal. Draisaitl doesn't necessarily get a point on that one, but even still, he's definitely involved in the fact that everybody on the ice is always got to be looking at Draisaitl to make sure that he's not the one getting that puck for that one timer, because he's the league's best goal scorer, or at least he was last year. So definitely got to watch out for him. But then like Bouchard shoots that one on net, and then Hyman is one of the best in the league, in my opinion, at picking up those rebounds in front of the net there. So that's just a goal that's going to go in, and especially when you let the Edmonton Oilers have that many power play opportunities, that's bound to happen at some point. But outside of that, like, very, very solid game. Took, obviously, as I just mentioned, a power play for the Edmonton Oilers to score even one goal. We survived the onslaught at the end there. Some great saves from Dobesh there, and the Canadians took care of their end of the ice as well. Starting in the second period, no goals in the first period at all there, but in the second period, Ivan Demidov scores his 7th of the season, and boy, what a shot that was too. He gets the puck, and he's just got that confidence. I like to see, especially like in that second period, in and around like that power play, and then the power play opportunity we had after that, it looked like he really got the memo that it's time to shoot the puck a little bit more than how he has been in previous games, even yesterday. So he was definitely shooting the puck more, and that's exactly what you want to see, because it makes him more of a dual threat. I mean, they mentioned that on the broadcast as well, but like when he's able to pass the way he is, and then also take shots and score on a shot like he did just then, like, he's gonna be a threat. He's gonna be a guy like Draisaitl that people got to watch out for when he's on the power play. And also noting he is back on the first power play unit, so that's always good to see. And I feel like Marty at this point has got to just be like, yeah, that's our power play one, because every time we put Evan Demidov on that top power play unit, we end up scoring goals. So I really don't know what we're doing messing around with it, but I'm not going to complain about that for right now. Obviously, a great shot from Deminov. Slavkovsky and Hudson get the assists on that one. Slav had a great game as well, picking up 2 points in this one. Could have had the empty netter at the end, but couldn't quite get it through to the net. But even so, I feel like he had a great game. He's really coming into his own this season as compared to previous seasons, which is really good to see. Hudson, obviously, he's unreal. Like, I think, like we're talking about, Quinn Hughes right now and how good he is after getting traded to the Wild, and he had a great game there today as well, and then obviously Cale Makar. But I think in the years to come, we're going to be talking about Lane Hudson in that same conversation. That's how good he is and how good he's been. A lot of rookie players, that have a good rookie season tend to have that sophomore slump coming into their second season, but it doesn't look like Hudson is doing that whatsoever. He picked up assists 22 and 23 tonight. So another 2-point performance for him. So it looks like he's getting better from year to year, and obviously getting him signed, all that kind of stuff. Like, he's going to be a guy that people are going to be talking about for years to come as one of the better defensemen in the NHL, especially in the offensive side of the ice there. So really good to see him getting points. Really good all around there on that power play. And then moving on, later on in the second period, Joe Veleno gets his second goal of his career with Montreal, second goal of the season. Kind of just like a really nice pass from Connor McDavid there. I don't know what was going on there. It was great forecheck. Like all that line looked really good all night, and they were really putting the pressure on McDavid and that top line for them, really forcing them to make errors, and obviously that's exactly what happened. There's a little bit of disconnect there that happened between McDavid and Hyman as he was kind of swinging around for the breakout. And McDavid's backhand pass kind of went right onto the stick of Joe Veleno. And even if Joe Veleno missed it, the Carrier was like right behind that. So it was really just an errant pass that was going right to the Canadiens players. But Veleno was able to pick that one up and absolutely snipe it on Pickard. So a very nice goal for him. It's always good to see when our depth gets involved in the goal scoring a little bit more. Obviously, it's good to see Cole Caulfield score goals. I would personally love for him to score 3 goals every night, but obviously that's not going to happen. So it's good to see our depth players getting some goal scoring. We definitely need that to happen if we want to be a competitive team down the stretch here. So good to see Veleno score that one. And then moving into the third period, Nick Suzuki gets a power play goal. It's his 9th of the season. Obviously, we got to talk about in the first period, there were a ton of breakaways. Nick Suzuki had 2 different breakaways in that first period, or even into the second period, I think, as well. But none of them quite went our way. It was good to see Suzuki get on the score sheet regardless of that. He scores on what was really all Uri Slafkovsky on that one. Hudson gets an assist as well, obviously, but Slav is doing all of the heavy lifting on that one. He comes in on the top right side, and he's just holding the puck and waiting for Nick Suzuki to kind of find like a sweet spot down right next to the post, and then Slafkovsky gives him a really nice pass that all Nick Suzuki has to do is just keep his stick on the ice, hold on tight, and then it ends up into the top corner of the net. So a really nice play from Slafkovsky to get his second assist of the day. And Nick Suzuki gets points there. Hudson gets points. Another power play goal to increase our stats on that power play. So a really great performance by all 3 of them there. And then, as we mentioned before, Zach Hyman gets that goal, and that's just one of those things. Like, it's going to go in. That's the way it is, especially, down the stretch in the third period when we're up 3-0. The Edmonton Oilers, they're going to push. They're going to want to, make us sweat a little bit, so they get that goal there. But then Texier pretty much just shuts them up right away. Another great goal from him. It's his 2nd of the year. If you include that shootout goal, that shootout winner, it's his 3rd. But it's a really nice shot. Like, he just finds, that bottom, like right under the arm of Picard there on the 2-on-1. And I like the idea of not passing there, just going for the shot. And he's, I think overall, he had a really solid game. He had a lot of great chances, a lot of great opportunities. I feel like he was, disrupting the play a little bit on the forecheck, all that kind of stuff. So good to see him get rewarded too. And that's another example of, our depth scoring coming in big for us when we need it to be. Obviously, as I said, like, you can't have the top line scoring all your goals. You can't have, Lane Hudson being the only driver of offense. So good to see him get that one. Struble gets a cheeky little assist on that one. I thought it might have been unassisted at first, but no, Struble gets his 5th assist of the season on that one. So good to see him getting points as well. It hasn't necessarily been a great ride for him recently, so good to see him get some points there. Both Jackeye and Struble getting points this weekend. So see what Martin St. Louis has to say about that. But and that pretty much iced it. There were definitely some chances for us to bury the empty netter, but didn't quite go that way. But that was a great performance overall. I think the biggest thing that I want to talk about other than that is obviously Dobesh had a really solid performance that night, and that's definitely it's good. It's good to see our goaltenders have good performances, but at the same time, it makes the decision that much harder. I'm still like, there's just no real good answer for what the Canadians are gonna do with their goaltender situation. I highly doubt that they're gonna run a 3-goalie rotation. It just doesn't make sense to me. I think the most sensible thing would be to send Fowler back down to the minors, but at the same time, it's like you got 2 pretty solid goaltending performances out of Jacob Fowler's first 2 career starts. He's not gonna get worse, hopefully anyway. Like, I'm not sure how much sense it actually makes to, to send Fowler back down when he's playing well, and we know that Montembeault isn't. And on top of that, we know that Montembeault hasn't even played at all in like a few weeks at this point. So it's a really tough decision at this point, like what we're gonna do and what, like, how it's gonna look. But it'll be interesting. But it's always good when you can get solid performances. And I think we always knew that Dobish had that in him. He just needed to get that chance. And I think, from yesterday's game, the video, I mentioned that I thought that Montembeault would be the one starting in this one. So I like the idea of starting Dobish. I feel like he deserved to get a start and not be put down to the third string despite his solid game. I feel like it was more, the players in front of him that weren't really performing. So I like to see him play well. So that was good. It's just, Montembeault is the big question mark, and what we're gonna do with him, what's gonna happen. So I'm not sure, but that's one side of it. The other thing I wanted to talk about was the penalty kill, especially in the first period. We had 3 penalties that we had to kill, one of which was a 5-on-3 for the entirety of 2 minutes, and we did a fantastic job. Everybody on that penalty kill contributed well, and we were able to kill off, in the first period, with pretty much fresh legs. We killed off a penalty on a 5-on-3 for 2 minutes that consisted of, McDavid and Draisaitl and, all of those guys that I mentioned earlier. So a huge effort there, and that's a big game changer too, right? Because, no goals in that first period, but could have definitely been 1 or 2 goals. Considering all of those players that are, heavy hitters on Edmonton's offense. So, like, it very well could have gone the other way for us. And that's like, and like they score 1 or 2 goals in that first period and we don't win this game. Like, especially considering the way that, the momentum swings have treated Montreal, and how, young our team is and how susceptible we are to, to ice tilt. I feel like, that kill was absolutely huge for us to get away with that with no points. And I think that our win is largely contributing, following or because of that big 5-on-3 kill there. So overall, I think the penalty kill did a great job. It's obviously really nice to have Jake Evans back. From whatever was causing him to be away from the team against the Penguins there. But yeah, like a great kill. We killed like 5 out of 6, I think, today. Obviously, like it's tough when you go to the box 6 times, you can't really kill it 6 times. But either way, I think that's especially in the first period there, that was a big reason why the Canadiens won this one. So just a shout out there. And yeah, that's pretty much all I've got for this one. I think, you can look at it overall. I mean, we didn't necessarily get screwed in the way that we had previously in the last time we played Edmonton with those penalties or whatever. So it was good to get that win and not to, lose in that, and what was that very heartbreaking loss that we had against the Oilers earlier this year. So really good to get that win there. Won't have to see McDavid or the Oilers for the rest of the year, which is also cause for celebration. But so yeah, overall, I mean, throughout this week, pretty solid. We got like 5 out of a possible 6 points in our last 3 games. There, a good win in Pittsburgh. Squeaked out a point, which should have been 2 points, but squeaked out a point against the Rangers there, and then got a huge 2 points, a huge regulation win against the Oilers here. So, and with that, the Canadiens end up back in the playoff spot. Obviously, the Atlantic Division is insane right now, and it's like, obviously it's still early. It's still, like early to mid-December, so it's hard to say specifically where people are sitting right now, but it is good to be in a playoff spot as opposed to not being in a playoff spot. So we will definitely take that. But yeah, it's definitely it's very interesting to see where the cards are falling right now. But that win is definitely a big win, a big deal. It looks like, obviously Boston is right on our heels. We jump over them on, win percentage alone, essentially. Boston's played 1 more game than us, but they have 2 more wins total. Giving them, the same amount of point totals as us with 0 overtime losses. So definitely some competition there. But if we can continue to, keep some points there, I think we can climb up these leaderboards here. Because, so obviously we're tied with Boston for that third in the Atlantic spot. We hop over them into that third Atlantic spot over the point percentage because we played less games. But we were also only 1 point behind Tampa and Detroit for that first in the Atlantic spot. So if we start going on a run here, start winning some games, we can really climb the leaderboards here. And if we can count on some losses for other Atlantic teams, which is unlikely, but if that happens, then we could definitely cement ourselves into what is one of the top teams in the Atlantic here going into the New Year's here. So definitely good to get the points that we're getting right now. Obviously, we would love to get some points over the past couple of weeks where we really weren't having that much success. Obviously, could have gotten a big win or at least a point against Tampa. That would have helped out a little bit as well, but we're still very much in the conversation, picking up our 10th regulation win. That's not ideal in terms of tiebreakers, but either way, I think it is good to see through 32 games that the Canadians are in one of the top three in the Atlantic. Definitely not where we were at this time last year, so definitely making some positive progress and keep getting points. And I think that we'll be in good shape going into the New Year. So that's pretty much all I have for you guys today. Coming up, we have a game on Tuesday against the Flyers here. So that's our round two against Christian Dvorak, Trevor Zegras, in the Philadelphia Flyers there. So should be an interesting game. The Flyers are also a pretty solid team. 16 wins for them. So we'll have to see how the Canadians perform in that one. But yeah, that all remains to be seen. So that's all I have for you guys today. And I will hopefully see you after a big win against the Flyers on Tuesday.